Hello lads and ladies, and welcome back for another video on the channel. It's January and I thought no better time than at the start of the month before any transfer shenanigans get up and running. Realistically, a few transfers have already happened. However, League One is starting to heat up. We're 50% of the way through this Sky Bet League One season. Some teams have played more games than that. We're going to have a review, go through all the teams. Half an hour episode. We're going to limit ourselves. We say that every time.
Yeah, no, I'm good, mate. I mean, we're in terms of the table, it's not looking healthy. In terms of Joe Taylor, it's not looking healthy. But we'll move on and we'll have a chat.
I think let's go for 200 likes, a massive like goal. So it would be massively appreciated if you could like this video before we get into it. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed for all the very latest Sky Bet League One content. Of the table, Burton Albion, Jake, just 2 wins in 24 games, a positive Christmas period, although it should have been 6 points instead of 2 against Huddersfield and Peterborough after being in winning situations. 17 points dropped from winning positions. And where Stevenage are currently sat at the table, just 1 point behind the Imps. It's big. It's got to change. They've got to start winning games of football.
I'm really disappointed with the NFG and what they've delivered so far at Burton this year. I mean, all signs off the pitch seem to be pretty positive and heading in the right direction with the supporters groups and transparency in terms of off the pitch. However, on the pitch, it's been a disaster. And when you sign 23, 24 players like Burton have done over the course of the season, then you're always going to get a lot of upheaval and a lot of inconsistencies. And we found that with Burton. They've played well 1 week and still lost and played awful the next week and also had the same result. So, yeah, it's not been a great season for Burton. Obviously, we're anticipating that they're probably going to get relegated this year. They need a lot of help in January, in my opinion. Not looking good for Burton. I'm actually very concerned for the long term with that football club because I'm not overly sure NFG are really going to put the club where they promised when they first came in.
Cambridge United and Shrewsbury are just 3 points above Burton Albion in the league table, playing the same amount of games. I'll tackle Cambridge and I'll bring you in on Shrewsbury. Cambridge are a team that has won 4 in 24 and now lost their last 5 games. They conceded 43 goals in the league, and they're a team that when they get a win, they can pull 3 wins off on the spin together, like they did in that week where they got that first win and they just seemed to thrive in confidence, went away to Stevenage on the midweek and won and backed it up. But since then, haven't really been enough. And 4 wins in 24. You look in them in 2024 and 2025, they've been poor. They've been good in blocks when the clocks go back, when the clocks go forward, and then all of a sudden they're struggling. They've kind of got away with it in recent years because Accrington, Stanley, Morecambe, Forest Green, Fleetwood, Carlisle, just to name 4 or 5 football clubs that have been worse. Shrewsbury are on the same points as them, but with Shrewsbury, they've got something that none of the teams in the bottom 3 have in the last 6 games, and that is a win. In fact, they've actually drawn 3, won 1, lost 2, although they are in games now. Gareth Ainsworth is coming to the football club, Jake, a man that we both know very well for different reasons. I know him for League One managers, as do you, but a bit of a close personal relationship with your football club.
Well, Ben, I think they're the most likely out of the whole bottom 4 to stay up. I know they've only had 4 wins all season, 17 points. They're 8 points behind Bristol Rovers. But I think they've got a chance. Gareth Ainsworth gives them that chance. He's often hung around at the top end of this league. Obviously got Wycombe promoted. And you look at right at the start of what he did with his tenure at Wycombe, he kept them he kept them in the Football League. And I feel like he could do something similar with Shrewsbury, just a level above. You know what you're going to get from Gareth Ainsworth teams. They're going to be difficult to beat. When they get 1-0 up, they're the worst team to go 1-0 down to. And I experienced that on Boxing Day. They've already beaten Birmingham City this season, which is a massive coup for them. I think there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel for them with Gareth and his ability to get teams together. It didn't quite work out for him at QPR the way he would have wanted. I think, like you say, they've got Gareth Ainsworth. That's the best asset they can have. I think he's going to keep them up.
Crawley Town are also in that bottom 4. However, they seem to be, again, like those clubs at the bottom, can't find any sort of consistency. They won a game and since then 4 defeats in the last 5 with a point in there. They have won 5 games, but only 24 goals scored. Or we are currently recording this on Thursday, the 9th of January, so this may be subject to change. However, Crawley are in games and they're dominating in terms of possession in a lot of football matches, although when they have chances, they had 6 shots on target away at Barnsley the other day. Barnsley had 7. Barnsley won the game 3-0. They just seem to be getting picked off too easily, and at times it's killing them off. They are making the home ground a fortress, but they've only won 3 games there, only won 2 games away from home. Bristol Rovers are a football club that you would label to be too big for this part of the table. However, 25 points from 24 games. They've lost 13 games, which is a worry, and they've only scored 22 goals. They conceded 38. The recruitment at Bristol Rovers is always quite rated by a lot of Bristol Rovers fans in the summer, but it never seems to work, Jake.
Yeah, I think Calderon's working up against it, really. Obviously, they got rid of Matt Taylor earlier on in the season, and were led to believe that there were issues off the pitch as to why Matt Taylor ended up losing his job ultimately. And Calderon's come in having not a great, vast experience in senior management, a lot similar, suppose, to a lot of managers currently applying their tried and scarlet League One. If you speak to Bristol Rovers fans, it feels like their 90 minutes are sort of split in two. They have a decent 45 minutes and an absolutely awful 45 minutes. This Bristol Rovers the team should be able to pull away. Then you look at the teams above them, Ben. Do I think Bristol Rovers are better than Peterborough, Wigan, Rotherham, Blackpool, Exeter? I don't. Not at this minute in time. So I think Bristol Rovers are actually where they probably should be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Peterborough United, a club that's got into the Sky Bet League One playoff semi-finals in the last 2 years, actually. They've scored 23 goals more than Stevenage, however, conceded 26 goals more, been involved in 49 more goals than the Borough, but sits 6 points behind them with a game played more. They have let go Joe Randall, who's gone to fellow League One football club Bolton Wanderers, who are currently chasing down a playoff spot. There's a lack of real, again, defensive prowess to stop goals going against them is a worry. They are a club that they wouldn't surprise you if they won 6-3. You'd be more shocked if they won 2-0 or 1-0 away somewhere. I don't think Peterborough United are a football club over the last few years are a club that can go and dig it out enough. They can do it now and again. But if you said to me away at Exeter and they need to win 1-0, I'm not quite sure they can go and do that at this moment in time, or go away at a big football club like a Bolton, a Barnsley. I know they've had a good record at Barnsley in previous years. But in a big moment to get through to a playoff final, I just think as a club, with maybe not the lack of experience, but the way they play, they are very open. They let a lot of key players go, like Harrison Burrows, Ronnie Edwards, Johnson Clark-Harris, Mason Clark left after the fee was agreed in January. Northampton Town, though, Jake, are a club that maybe are pretty on the eye, 17 goals less scored than Peterborough, 7 goals conceded less, but have a point more, but playing a game more. They've only won a game less, but Northampton are a club over the last 46 games last year, 25 games this year, so 71 matches, are a club that you can find who did beat Peterborough recently, actually. One of their only kind of 3 victories in those last 20 games. They can find a way to win 1-0 against someone maybe not as favourable, but a Burton, a Cambridge, a Crawley at home.
That Northampton are another one of those teams that have changed their manager over the course of the season, obviously with John Brady walking away after 200 games in charge of the Cobblers, bringing in Kevin Nolan, who on paper didn't look a fantastic appointment. I know he had some previous ventures with West Ham and winning the Conference League, and also in the dugout as a senior with Notts County, playing his role in not only them getting to the playoffs, but also seeing Notts County get relegated out of the Football League. So I was a little bit cautious about the appointment. However, speaking to Northampton fans, he's made things a lot clearer. It's clearer to see what he wants, perhaps, than what John Brady had previously attempted to put out. I think Northampton are all right, Ben. They're still one of the teams that I think could end up slipping into the bottom 4 if they're not careful. They need some strong recruitment. Obviously, that you can tell this year they don't have the extra quality of a Mark Leonard, of a Kieran Bowie to push them into that mid-table bracket. Looking at it, Ben, they need 20 points from 21 games, and based on what they've done at the minute, 26 from 25, you probably say they're going to do that. So yeah, I think it's Northampton. The big thing for Northampton, and I hate to drag on, normally when they're in this league, Ben, they stay up the first year pretty convincingly, and the second year is always the hard year.
They have got 5 points in the last 3 games, seem to get all their points in batches. Wigan Athletic, 27 points, 2 wins, a draw, and 3 defeats in their last 6 games. A 3-0 defeat to Birmingham at the weekend. They have lost 10 games this year, only 21 goals scored. They have signed Will Goodwin on loan from Oxford, who was very promising in the first half of last season at Cheltenham. Struggled at promotion-winning Oxford last season in the second half. Went for a decent size figure for this level. Hopefully, you can get the best out of him at Wigan Athletic. Rotherham United have also struggled to find form this year. Just 7 wins in 23, 2 of which have come against Lincoln City, Jake.
Yeah, I thought you might. I thought you might mention that. I think a lot of people got on the hype because they'd signed players early in the window that they were all of a sudden just going to work out. But you look at the players; they're all fairly old, and Steve Evans doesn't massively play an attractive style of football. I know sometimes that can work in terms of getting promotion, but it really hasn't worked for them this year. They win one, they lose one, they draw one. That's just the way Rotherham have been. I've watched them twice, not been enamoured by them, but they've beaten us twice. So yeah, Rotherham, I think they'll be disappointed with the season, but I don't know. I think with Steve Evans at the helm, their supporters are really 50-50 on whether they want to keep him going into next season. So that'll be interesting to see if Evans is in a job in a year's time. But poor season for them. They'll want to have done better.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Again, it's almost seemed to get a bit of run together before flat on the faces. And Blackpool, again, they won 3 on the bounce. Since then, no win in the last 5. They have drawn 4 of which the only defeat came away at Wrexham, which they did not deserve to lose that game. A controversial penalty decision, unfortunately, goes against them. Steve Bruce has done all right since being in charge. Obviously, the few games he wasn't there for, they didn't do too well for. But when he's been in the dugout, they've done quite well. Too many draws. Again, goals switched off at wrong times. Blackpool, again, you just fear, and maybe plodding towards a mid-table season, which off the pitch, what's going on? You feel a takeover is bound to happen sooner rather than later. Simon Sadler did rescue the Seasiders and has done a decent job to get the club on a secure level, back still in League One. Exeter City also doing all right. They've competed this year. They started well. They started well last year. Eyebrows were raised. Can they sustain it? Again, you can have a look at their form. 2 wins, a draw, and 3 defeats in their last 6. They are doing very well at this level. Stevenage, Jake, 31 points so far. Again, questions getting asked. They've drawn 6 of those by 0-0. They've kept 13 clean sheets. They've been solid at the back. But when you are solid at the back, sometimes you are kind of more focusing on being solid at the back and maybe take your eye off scoring goals. And that has been Stevenage's problem this year. They haven't been pretty on the eye, but 31 points from 23 games for Stevenage standards is quite good. You take last season out where they overachieved. This is probably where Stevenage should be with this squad.
Mid-table League One team. I think 5 years ago, if you'd have told a Stevenage fan that they would have ripped your hand off for it. I watched them the other day. I thought they were fantastic going forward. Some really good players. Carl Piergiani just looks particularly good. He really marshals that defence really well. In midfield, Harvey White, he had something. Dan Kemp's had a really good season as well. I think questions of Alex Ravel are a little bit unfair. I think if Stevenage were in the bottom 4, then I think questions on Ravel would be fair. However, he's got them in mid-table comfortably as well. There's no danger of this Stevenage team going down. I fully anticipate they're going to get the points in order to stay up. They've beaten Barnsley, they've beaten Wrexham, and they've beaten Stockport, all of the Lamex. Just that away record they need to try and brush up on and try not draw so many games.
4 games ago, Lincoln City were in the playoffs. Now they sit 12 on 32 points, 9 points outside. You can say 2 weeks is a long time in football. 3 defeats and a draw. Only 1 win in 12 games now, which is a concern. What is it? Because you look at everything, all your metrics, 8 wins out of 25, 8 draws, 9 defeats. That is a typical League One side. 28 and 25 goals, 28 goals scored in 25 games is a pretty League One return on the playoffs. This isn't really good enough for Lincoln City anymore. It's seen as a failed season. That shows you how far you come as a football club.
Yeah, I think what Lincoln fans have to take into consideration, Ben, and you maybe people won't believe this saying, is we have a bottom 6 budget. We aren't well backed. We don't have the finances to compete with the league, and the league has massively gone up in terms of finances this season with your likes of Wycombe, Bristol Rovers, Burton, all offering lots and lots of cash. So And look, we've had some key players missing. I won't lie. Tom Hamer's been injured pretty much the entirety of this run. He was a pretty big figure before we fell off a cliff. Tom Bayliss has only just come back as well. Yeah, it's not been good. The 1 win in 12 isn't good enough. Managers it will lose their jobs for similar runs in the EFL. So it's been an up and down season. Our season depends on as well as the sale of key players. We could be talking about in a month's time where a Lincoln with no Sean Rowan, no Paulie O'Connor, and no Ethan Arahan. Other clubs, you're looking at Bolton, Charlton, Stockport. Most of them have got bigger budgets than Lincoln. So that's just how the world lies, Ben. Unfortunately, we're dropping a bit like a stone at the moment.
Forget that night that you secured the playoff spot after beating Oxford 1-0 at the Castle.
It was great, mate. Take me back.
Charlton Athletic have been on a bit of a resurgence of late. They won 3 in a row, and they've also got 3 draws either side of that, 2 before and 1 after, taking a possible, well, let me do the maths, 12 points from a possible 6 games. That's 2 points a game, closing the gap on the playoffs by just to 7 points now. Nathan Jones just questioned 6 games ago. A 5-0 demolition of Northampton in there as well, with home wins at the Valley as well, that secured the points. Again, they haven't been a great watch this year, but got the job done. Today, Bolton Wanderers signed Joel Randall on a rumoured 6-figure fee from Peterborough United on a 3.5-year deal. A signing that I wasn't quite sure on, because I think they've got similar players in the likes of, well, McAtee, Collins, Charles. I know Joe Randall's more of an attacking midfielder, and he got a decent output last season. However, I thought Bolton Wanderers could do with strengthening in better areas. And I feel the morale around the football clubs needs to be questioned. However, a good win away at Exeter in the last minute. Aaron Morley's coming back and giving him a fresh face. Maybe that win can spur Bolton on, and hopefully it does, because it's a football club that needs good moments and good people around it, because it deserves a lot better than what it's got in this last 6 months. 8 defeats in 21 should not happen to Bolton Wanderers in League One. Mansfield Town, 37 points, Jake. 4 wins in the last 5. They started okay. They got on a really good run in the middle part of it, then went on a poor run. And everyone was saying about, the tough runs coming up. They went away at Peterborough 1. They beat Bolton.
But they've adapted really well to this league, Ben. There's no denying that. They've had some really, really big wins. Really good performances in those games as well. Certainly the game against Bolton. I think what differs Mansfield to teams below them in the table is they've got a really effective front two. Will Evans and Lee Gregory both coming in this summer. Lee Gregory, we've seen it before, Ben. I mean, you certainly more in person than I have. A fantastic centre forward. Will Evans scored a lot of goals for Newport in the division below, and has stepped up to the league really well. But yeah, Nigel Clough has just got this togetherness with Mansfield Town, and they've won a lot of games, Ben. They've won 11 of their 23 games. Nearly half of their games have been fantastic. And what's really been good about Mansfield is that home form. They've really been able to make Phil Miller a real fortress to go to, and teams won't enjoy going there, especially when they have a really sold-out crowd. The atmosphere there, it tends to be pretty good. Their away support is also pretty good, certainly when they go to local games. I can't say anything else about where else they travel. But yeah, really good start to life in League One for Mansfield. However, their fans will be only thinking about staying up. That is the main priority for them. And yeah, let's fingers crossed for their fans that that's something they're able to do.
Leyton Orient, they've adapted at times this season. They play a pretty good standard of football on the floor through the lines. However, when they needed to be direct in recent weeks, they've been direct. They've won 5 on the spin. They've kept a lot of clean sheets in that period. They'd only won, when you look at it, 6 in their previous 19 games. And at one point, maybe 6 weeks ago, they were in the bottom 4. I said to you on League One Live, which we do every Sunday at 8 o'clock, if you're not aware of that, we said that Leyton Orient are a side that it will climb up. They are now an unbelievable 17 points off the bottom 4 and only 4 points off the playoffs. You go on a run and you time at the right time, like they did last year, where they chased, and as soon as they got into a position where they can get into the playoffs, they just suddenly faded away. They were good at the chasing, or as soon as they got into a position, unfortunately faded away a little bit.
Yeah, no, I really like this Leyton Orient team. Playing Richie Wellens football, which is a real delight to watch. They've won umpteen games in a row, keeping so many clean sheets. They've been outstanding. And if it's not goals from the centre forwards, it's goals from the attacking midfielder, it's goals from the right back, it's yeah, Richie Wellens has really got them purring at the moment. They're a fantastic side to watch at home. They've won the last three, beating Crawley, Cambridge, and Shrewsbury. Three teams they should beat, but still doing pretty well. Leyton Orient, certainly a dark horse to finish in that top six. And with Richie Wellens, who is a big asset, like we say with Gareth Ainsworth down the bottom, anything's possible for Leyton Orient. Where I feel like they maybe lack in comparison to the teams they are around in terms of Bolton, Charlton, Stockport, Barnsley, Huddersfield. I don't think Leyton Orient have the budget to compete with them. I think Richie Wellens has been very open with that. But you have to say for a club like Leyton Orient, who've only been in the league for what 2 years now, to be doing what they're doing is fantastic.
Stockport County only one win in the last 6, losing 3, drawing 2. Losing Louis Barry, who was on loan, who was phenomenal for them, won't just be a loss in terms of goals and assists, but be a loss on the pitch. And it might affect the feel-good factor around the football club, that there's not that real give him the ball and he will score. I just worry about that. Although if they finish outside of the players, which Dave Challen has never done in a full season, it would still be a good season. I know where they've been, it would be looked at as maybe as, we could have done it if Louis Barry stayed, and what if? And but there's too many poor defeats that they were winning 2-1 earlier in the year. They're now losing a 2-1 or a 1-0, where they were maybe getting a point, if not 3. Reading have won 3 in a row and got a point. Again, a 10-point swing since the Lincoln-Reading game, which Lincoln actually won, whereas Lincoln have only taken 1 point. Just shows you, if your time you run well altogether, Reading have now gone into the playoffs where Lincoln were at that period. They've now won half the games, Reading. Most of their issues have been over the time in League One. And in the Championship, to be fair, they were solid at home. But unfortunately, away from home, they haven't been good enough. This year, again, Ruben Sellers did a really good job. Noel Hunt came in. They went away at Wycombe. Had to have tough games in that period where they weren't quite winning and getting the results. Winning 3 in a row, getting a point last time out, which I thought, to be fair, 10 points. Again, away at the Valley, were in good form. Clean sheet is a good return. Well, another team that has really turned the season around is Barnsley. They've won 4 in a row for the first time since March 2023, where they were beating the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, Portsmouth, Plymouth in that period as well. 12 wins now, really cementing their place in the playoffs, Jake.
Yeah, Barnsley, like you say, Ben, completely turned the season around, because they were hanging around outside the top 6 for a lot of the season so far. But Darryl Clark has clearly fed them something nice over the festive period. Really big wins over Wrexham, over Peterborough, over Bolton. Really good win. You got that slight dip against Leyton Orient, but again, winning against Exeter. And they were quite unfortunate, I thought, against Birmingham. They just lost to a £50 million wonder sign that they made at the start of the season. They've been phenomenal. Darryl Clark has really got this job done particularly well. I think the big thing for Barnsley this year, Ben, was to add more goals to the team. They weren't a massive attacking threat last season, but to add Davis Keeler-Dunn, somebody who can score goals from midfield, on a big fee from Mansfield, he's come in and done particularly well. Adam Phillips has picked up where we left on from last year in terms of contributing here, there, and everywhere. Big improvements from Barnsley, and you have to say fair credit to Darryl Clark, because he's completely switched them around. And a lot of Barnsley fans were underwhelmed with that appointment, because he ultimately got Cheltenham relegated last season.
Huddersfield have set to announce the signing.
Don't do this to me. Don't do you are a rat.
What can you? I've done a couple of teams in a row, so I could give you these two clubs together. But Huddersfield are now 100 days without a defeat in League One. Again, a great result away at Wycombe the other night. That was a really, really good result. And again, they're not just winning games; they are winning now with a style. They're being hard to beat. Good at set pieces, good through the lines, really solid. They are starting to look like a Michael Duff side. They were at the start of the year when they started well. They got that little blip where questions got asked because the football wasn't there. And Duff style of football needs to win games of football regularly, because it's not great on the eye if it doesn't win. And a lot of football is like that, don't get me wrong, but it's solid. They've only conceded 19 goals. Wrexham, 18 goals, which is really good as well. And they played a game more. Again, Wycombe, who are in the top 2, 8 goals less. Really good period for them. What will Joe Taylor add to this Huddersfield team?
Goals. I mean, what I will say, Huddersfield fans, just to warn you, he took 6. I think he didn't score 6 goals for us at the start of last year, and that's when he was particularly on fire. I think that he's not played for half a season, so I think you need to give him a little bit of time. But once he catches light, Ben, we saw what he did. 10 goals in 13 games, including a hat-trick and a brace in the space of a week. Scored 5 goals in the span of a week. So clearly a good centre-forward. I think he's different to what they've got. Catapults Huddersfield well and truly into probably a title race for me. I think it's that transformational of a signing. And so congratulations, Huddersfield. You've ruined my dinner. Appreciate that.
Stephen Fletcher has come to life over the Christmas and New Year period by rescuing Wrexham in some dramatic wins over Blackpool, over the likes of Wigan, and over the likes of Peterborough recently as well. Phenomenal at home, 12 wins in 14. My only worry for them is they've played 3 less away games than home games, but when the run that the Wrexham have been on, they won't care. They've got Birmingham to come, who I know will want to win that unbelievable period without defeat at home. I think it's only three defeats in the last kind of 2.5 seasons at home, and they all came in League Two last year. Back to back looks on. They overtook Wycombe where Wycombe went 19 games unbeaten, and Wrexham overtook them. That just shows you how much Wrexham have been on the toes. 25 games, 15 wins, 6 draws, 4 defeats, and they scored 13 goals less than Wycombe, but they've been really good at the back and solid. And at home, they do all the right things. They play out through the back, play through the lines, in your face, so high energy, high press, crosses out from out wide like Sir Barnett, McLean, and they can get, bodies in the box like Mullen, like Fletcher, like an Ollie Palmer at times as well. Wins. 10 of their 15 wins this season have been by the odd goal, so they can win ugly. Sign of a champions mentality. They haven't won leagues, but they've won promotion. They've got a togetherness, a spirit, and they've signed players that have won promotion. The likes of Scar, the likes of George Dobson is a good player at this level. They've been a phenomenal addition. Wycombe, 51 points from 25 games. They are in dreamland. They've still got a few more home games and away games to play. However, the losses, eventually Tony could leave the football club as well, which is a loss, isn't it, when you look at it as well. They just signed a centre-half from Molde. What?
What's his name?
Holger Skar?
We'll go with it.
I've done well.
You've done very well, mate. Yeah, very proud.
I've done with that. Well done. Again, they've done very well. 50 goals scored, 51 points, 2 wins in the last 6. They've dropped off a little bit, but they've drawn 2, lost 2. You're going to go through a period in the season. Do you think Wycombe are sustainable?
Yes, I do, Ben, because they've got a budget. They've got a particularly good budget. So I do think they are well and truly in and amongst this automatic promotion race. They scored 3 at Lincoln. 3 at Stevenage, like I say, 4 at Shrewsbury, 2 away at Exeter, 5 away at Stockport. If they lose Joe Lowe, I'm quite worried because he's a unit at the back. However, you trust Matt Bloomfield. Well, this is another talking point, Ben. Are they going to keep Matt Bloomfield? There's a number of jobs in the Championship that probably are quite appealing to him in terms of Leyton Town, potentially, not to make any links. So, yeah, it's been a great season for Wycombe. 50 goals. It looked like they're going to score every time they go forward. They're defensively pretty decent. I mean, I watched them the other night against Huddersfield. I thought they were unlucky. They nearly made the chances, but they weren't quite able to take them for whatever reason. But great season, 51 points after 25 games, top scorers in the league. I don't think Wycombe Wanderers fans could have asked for any more this year.
I think Birmingham fans, we were expecting them to be good, and I thought Birmingham would struggle a bit more than they have. Only the 2 defeats away at Charlton and away at Shrewsbury. I thought they'd start slow and maybe around this period go on a really good run. Well, they've won 4 of the last 6, and 16 wins in 23 is phenomenal. They had a slow start to the season with a draw at home to Reading where they weren't great, but in a lot of the games, what I said before about Bolton Wanderers have probably not deserved 37 points. Birmingham probably deserve more goals and a bigger goal difference than they've got. Right, times they've only won by 1 or 2. And they've been streaks ahead, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 at times, goals you could think of being ahead. And sometimes when they're in 2-3-0 up, they don't coast, but they kind of just stop it a little bit and stop the playing, stop the others playing. And 17 goals against. You look at Paik, I think he's phenomenal. I think he's the best player for me that I can remember in League One for the last 2 or 3 years. I know Morsy's up there, Chaplin, Barry Bannon, these terrific footballers that have done well at this level. He is right up there. And Paik, I think, is the quiet assassin between him and Iwata, but Paik makes Iwata a better player. I think Iwata is the better flair player for his goals and his attacking contribution, but without Paik, Iwata can't do that. You take Paik out of the Birmingham team, you aren't getting much out of Iwata, as much out of Iwata. I think Paik is more important than Iwata, but then you've got the likes of Stansfield, the likes of Alfie May, who's now got 100 EFL goals. And you look at his goal return in the last 4 years especially. They've got the likes of Cochrane, Bielik, Clara. These players, Buchanan recently getting injured is a big blow for them. Mark Leonard can't get a game for them. They've just been a phenomenal addition, 53 points. They want the record. I think the record's 106 points, if I'm right, where Reading got it. I think it's more than achievable. They're halfway there. Which off, they start bringing in the likes of Jukovic. Well, you're bringing in Lukas Jukovic, who's been a phenomenal championship striker of the last decade. It's not bad. You're not putting in, Joey from Stevenage, who was out on Saturday night in a nightclub. You're bringing in a really good footballer. So it's going to be interesting to see how this adapts. I think Birmingham City will win the league still. But I think Huddersfield Town are right on the shoulder. I think it's the top 4, and I think there's a space for another 2 playoffs. If you had to make one bold call, what's your bold call? I think mine, Huddersfield will get automatic promotion. That's not bold, is it?
You've nicked it. You've just completely nicked mine.
Lincoln are going to win the league.
No, Lincoln are not going to win the league. My bold call is that Shrewsbury will stay up, Ben. I think Gareth Ainsworth will do the job there.
I agree. Jake, thank you for joining me, mate.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate that. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed it, make sure you drop a like. This is your home of Sky Bet League One content. If you have enjoyed it, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.